Hello my friends, my name is Rich and welcome to Greatest Rock and Metal. On Greatest Rock and Metal I talk about what are for me the greatest albums and gigs that I have witnessed over many years of listening to, thousands of albums and seeing hundreds of gigs in the world of rock and metal. If you enjoy what you see, please press the red button below to subscribe to the channel so that you can see future episodes of Greatest Rock and Metal. Today I am going to be talking about the band My Chemical Romance. So, my introduction to this band came in 2004 when I'm sitting there watching MTV music video show, can't remember which one it was, doesn't matter, probably Kerrang TV at that time actually, I think, and on comes this song titled I'm Not Okay, and this very cinematic video. It was awesome. The riff in this song, the vocal talent, the production of the video, it was a very, very entertaining video to watch, and all of a sudden I am introduced to the band My Chemical Romance, who I had never heard of before. They'd actually already been around for a few years. Their debut album was released in 2002. Titled I Brought You Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love. I think that's correct. Very long album title. And the musical style of the band, My Chemical Romance, in the early days was very much focused in what was called the emo kind of goth style of music. Those of you who don't know what emo is, it's basically a term for emotional lyrics and really pouring your heart out in your lyrics in the songs. And there was kind of a growth of emo bands in the early 2000s, of which My Chemical Romance became the true leaders. What was also interesting, and we get this in the rock and metal world at certain periods of time, in the 80s we had it with Bon Jovi, where you start to see a lot more women and girls attracted to the band. We all know that rock and metal is very much a male dominated style of music, but it's great. I love it when we see a lot more women in bands and a lot more women leading bands. And some of my favourite bands do have women musicians in them. Off the top of my head, without any shadow of a doubt, Nightwish. The vocalists that Nightwish have been brilliant. But anyway, that's for another time. My Chemical Romance attracted girls and women to the music as well, and that was very important because it really helped them with their growth as a band. We move forward in their history now to 2006. The Black Parade. This album took them stratospheric. They'd already done very, very well with the album before that, this one here, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, from which the single I'm Not Okay, or to give it its full title, I'm Not Okay, I Promise, is on. And also on this album you had a couple of other big hit singles on it, Helena, and what was the other one? The Ghost of You, I think it was the other hit single of this album. So they'd already done very well with that album, but the Black Parade took them stratospheric. Especially in the UK. And in fact, the first single from the Black Parade album, titled Welcome to the Black Parade, became a #1 chart-topping single in the UK. That did not happen very much. It was very, very rare for a rock or metal band to get a chart-topping single in the UK. And for them to achieve that was a phenomenal achievement. And it led them to become a huge band in the UK, and also attracted with it a lot of negative publicity from the mainstream media about their emo connections, and again, very wrongly saying, oh, it encouraged kids to harm themselves, and it's just ridiculous. The message of My Chemical Romance was absolute opposite of that. But hey, that's the mainstream media for you. So, today I would like to focus on this album, The Black Parade. This has just recently been reissued. It's been reissued several times in various formats, and this is a recent vinyl reissue. A gatefold, a double album, gatefold, fantastic picture in the center there of the band in the Black Parade costumes. As I say, double vinyl, and this is a double coloured vinyl version, and this particular colour fits in perfectly with the Black Parade concept. It's like a clear smoky black marble vinyl effect. Same on the other album, and also in here as well is lyric sheet. So the Black Parade album, let's put that up there for now. This album is what we might call a rock opera. It's got a concept around it. You can see some of the shirts that I've got here. The Who, the pioneers of the rock opera when they did their album Tommy. What is a rock opera? What is a concept album? Well, basically it revolves around a storyline, and the storyline for the Black Parade was based on this character titled The Patient. The patient being a person in a hospital, and unfortunately this particular patient was not going to recover from his situation, and he's close to death. And what we hear about in the album, in the lyrics, is all his thoughts, in terms of his thoughts about death and his thoughts about his past life. And it's a brilliantly written album, both musically and lyrically. Helped a lot, I think, by their producer, a guy by the name of Rob Cavallo. And what was interesting about this particular producer, he was a very hot producer at this time, and he'd just come off the back of a very, very successful another concept album, or rock opera, that he'd done with Green Day, the American Idiot album that had been released a couple of years before. And stylistically and sonically, there's a lot of parallels between the American Idiot album from Green Day and Chemical Romance's Black Parade, because also on the Black Parade, My Chemical Romance had really taken up and gone up another level in terms of their performances. Musically, they were better musicians, and what was also interesting is that the singer Gerard Way was now a singer. There'd been a lot more of the what we call the screamo influences in previous albums. Here we're seeing the full vocal range of Gerard Way, and he sings brilliantly on this album, because there's such a variety of styles across the album, and he handles them all superbly. What are my favourite tracks on the album? I always pick my favourite 4. Well, the first track that I would pick has to be, of course, Welcome to the Black Parade. It was my introduction to this album. I was already aware of the band, as I'd said earlier, but when I first heard that piano intro to the song and this haunting vocal, when I was a young boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band. Nothing like Gerard Way, I'm sorry about that. I try my best. And what a fantastic opening, and then all of a sudden, after that haunting piano intro, we get straight into the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, into the rock. And it's a superb song. It takes you on a real roller coaster of emotions, and it's no surprise as to why it was #1 in the UK and has become probably the most famous song in their catalogue. Another track that I would pick as being one of my favourites, and it runs a close second to being my favourite on the album, is the last song on the album, called Famous Last Words. It's a brilliant way to end the album. It's a true metal rock song, and it really gets the blood pumping. As does a track that appears earlier on the album, This Is How I Disappear. Wow, I love the introduction to This Is How I Disappear. You get this big musical build up, then we get Gerard Way say go, and then it's really into the song before it kind of drops down again and then builds up again into another roaring chorus, which this album is just full of fantastic choruses. The final track that I would pick as a must listen to on this album is a song that was one of the videos, singles, and there were many tracks taken from this album because there were so many strong songs on it that were chosen as videos and singles, and that's the ballad track, I Don't Love You Anymore. A fantastic song, and I think, like I say, one of the great things I enjoyed about this was how Gerard now has really found his voice, and he's able to sing a ballad and pull it off really, really well. So that's my favourite 4 from this album. And next I'm going to talk about the first time that I saw My Chemical Romance live. But before we do that, let's take a look at rock albums by the sea. Hope you enjoyed that. So, my first experience of My Chemical Romance live. Well, this is the ticket. It was in 2005, and it was quite a small show. It was at the London Astoria, and the tickets for this show were like absolute gold dust. They really were. It was the time, like I said, their first single, I'm Not Okay, had just broken big in the UK, and everyone wanted to see this band. On the previous tour they'd done, there was hardly anyone there. They were playing small, very tiny club shows, and now there was a massive demand to see them. This was to promote the 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge album, and the Astoria, which doesn't exist anymore sadly, held about 2,000 capacity, I think it was, so still a pretty small gig, but the atmosphere inside was electric. I'd mentioned earlier about now girls and women getting into the band, so this was one of those concerts where you really notice when there's a lot more girls and women, because you get a lot more screaming at anything, When the guys come on to, when the crew come on to check the noise levels for the instruments, and you got someone just doing the do do, or you know, a riff on a guitar, or just a note on a guitar, you get the ah. The band's not even started. It makes the crew members feel like they're on top of the world when they're getting such a reaction, and that's what it was like in there. Real excitement, real buzz of energy. It was great. It was great. The set list. I've got the set list here. Oh, I always tell you the price of the tickets. So this was what, 15 years ago. 15 years ago to see My Chemical Romance, and the price was an amazing £12.50 English pounds. £12.50. What a bargain. So the set list. A very short set list. The gig was over in less than an hour, which was a little bit disappointing, but one of the things about My Chemical Romance on those early tours is they were really fast and furious. This is a very different live band to what we then later saw just a couple of years later on the Black Parade tour. This was a full-on, almost punk rock style of band. You've got singer Gerard Way and one of the guitarists, Frank Iroh. They're all over the place. Yeah, they don't stop moving and running around, and this is when Gerard's screaming a lot more than singing. But they're really, to be fair, they're really working the crowd. But then the 10-song set goes by very, very fast. And in fact, of those 10 songs, 9 of them came from the Sweet Cheers for Revenge album, which was great by me, because to be honest, at that time I didn't even own the first album, and they played just one song from their debut album. But it was great to then just hear all the songs that you wanted to hear, because I wasn't the only one in there, of course, who had just got into the band with the Three Cheers album. So we were all delighted to get the set list that we got, and that was it. It was really over in a flash. Like I say, only 10 songs, played fast and furious, short and sweet. But that was my introduction to My Chemical Romance, and I was fortunate again to see them on later tours. Now, unfortunately, as a band, they did not last very long, and only recently they announced, just before COVID hit, that they were going to do a reunion tour, and all that's been put on ice for obvious reasons. But they had a relatively short career, and they only released 4 studio albums. You could say 5 studio albums if you include an album they did titled Conventional Weapons, which was a selection of some singles that they had released that had never appeared on previous albums. So normally I would give you my favourite 4 albums, but when they've only got 5 to choose from, I'm not going to do that. So I would just recommend 2 of their albums. Of course, The Black Parade, and another of the recent reissues. This is another coloured vinyl version for Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge, and you can have a little look at this one. This is a very deep, I suppose you call it cherry red, or blood red. Yes, blood red, given the vampiric album cover. Cherry red coloured vinyl. Talking of red, if you've enjoyed today, please press the red button to subscribe so that you can see future episodes of Greatest Rock and Metal. Thank you very much for watching, and remember, as always, we rock!